Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the multiplayer cloud and how unlocking collaborative infrastructure is absolutely crucial for your business.
Think about your current setup for just a second. As enterprise cloud teams scale up, relying on manual processes or isolated individuals creates massive business risk. I mean, if you have just one or two people who hold the magic incantations to deploy your infrastructure, you've essentially built a giant bottleneck. That single point of failure severely throttles your velocity. It kills innovation. So you really have to ask yourself, is your infrastructure a team sport, or are you literally one vacation away from a total standstill?
The stakes here are crystal clear. Take a look at these numbers from the State of DevOps report. Organizations that embrace automated practices like infrastructure as code deploy 200 times more frequently. And get this, they recover from failures 24 times faster. High-performing teams are completely bridging the gap between that slow legacy pacing and extreme agility, and they're doing it through automation.
Okay, Section 1, the infrastructure as code shift.
Under the hood, tools like Terraform just change everything. You aren't managing your infrastructure by pointing and clicking around a web console anymore. Instead, you declare your desired infrastructure in simple text files. It's like writing a recipe. Terraform acts as the engine that reads this configuration code, figures out exactly what needs to change, and automatically provisions those resources across cloud providers like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. You're treating your infrastructure just like software code. And this code-first approach fundamentally changes how we view our systems. We used to treat servers as these long-lived, mutable machines, kind of like pets that accumulated unique, manual changes over the years until nobody knew exactly how they were actually configured. But modern cloud infrastructure, it's short-lived. It's immutable. If you need to change a dependency, you don't patch a live server. You just provision a brand new, updated server through code and tear the old one down. It's clean, it's predictable, and for sure, it's infinitely repeatable. Moving right along to Section 2, the single-player bottleneck. So while infrastructure as code is incredibly powerful, starting out as a solo engineer running commands directly from a local laptop creates a dangerous single-player bottleneck, and that simply doesn't scale for an enterprise. It all comes down to the concept of state. Terraform uses a state file to map your code to real-world cloud resources. When you work solo, that file sits locally on your machine. That makes it highly insecure, totally uncollaborative, and completely reliant on manual execution. Moving to a remote backend means this state file is shared on a central server, properly encrypted, and enables automated, safe teamwork. Because imagine this incredibly common scenario. The 3 a.m. pager alert goes off. We've all been there, right? A solo developer who holds all the deployment keys pushed an unreviewed configuration that just broke the production environment. Because the state file is trapped on their laptop, or worse, multiple engineers are trying to fix it and accidentally corrupt the local files, the lack of a shared version-controlled state becomes a true nightmare. You are quite literally left flying blind during a massive outage. Which brings us to Section 3, the multiplayer cloud workflow. To prevent those 3 a.m. nightmares, mature organizations transition into the multiplayer cloud by centralizing their state. But listen, just sharing a file isn't enough. You need rules of engagement. State locking acts as this critical safety net. Think of it like checking out a library book. If someone has it checked out to make updates, nobody else can touch it until they're done. If two developers try to apply changes at the exact same moment, the state locking mechanism kicks in, preventing accidental overwrites and catastrophic corruption. When you combine these multiplayer cloud enablers together, the business value absolutely skyrockets. You move away from risky, long-lived static security keys in favor of short-lived credentials. You massively reduce the blast radius of potential errors. And through role-based access control, you strictly separate who is allowed to read sensitive state data from who has the actual authority to modify your production cloud. Next up, Section 4, automating safety and governance. Once you have a shared locked state, the next evolution is taking human hands completely off the deployment trigger by integrating automated guardrails. This creates a perfectly collaborative pipeline. First, developers write code, then they open a pull request, which automatically triggers a plan that shows reviewers exactly what will change without actually changing anything yet. Once human eyes approve it and the code is merged, the automated system securely applies the changes. No individual developer is typing commands directly to production anymore. The system handles the whole shebang based entirely on the code they reviewed. But standard pipelines have a blind spot. They only check your infrastructure when someone actually pushes code. What if someone logs into the cloud console manually and tweaks a firewall rule?
This is called drift. Modern platforms act as an incredibly smart continuous drift detection system. They constantly compare your live, actual cloud resources against your code state to detect unauthorized or out-of-band changes at any given time. This ensures your code remains the absolute source of truth. Finally, Section 5, the ROI of collaboration.
The business value generated by this shift is just immense. Teams no longer suffer through multi-day merge nightmares or wait weeks for an ops team to provision a simple database. Instead, developers enjoy self-service through reusable, battle-tested code modules. The code itself acts as live documentation. This radically improves deployment safety, dramatically accelerates your time to market, and crucially, prevents developer burnout by eliminating all those tedious, repetitive manual tasks. Let's put some numbers to that impact. When major enterprises like Nordstrom, for example, adopted these automated, collaborative infrastructure practices, they reported a staggering 60% reduction in lead times. Think about that. The time it takes to go from a mere idea to running code live in production cut by 60%. And on top of that, they saw a 60% drop in production incidents at the same time. That means they're moving much faster, while simultaneously breaking much less. So, the question you have to ask yourself right now is this. Are you going to keep managing your enterprise cloud like a single-player game, constantly vulnerable to bottlenecks and manual errors? Or are you ready to build the automated, collaborative safety nets that will finally let your team scale without limits?